Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. We bid to our beloved lecturer, Dr. Zalani Binti Yusof. Alright, so for today, we are going to present on the textual analysis for a novel written by the famous national laureate, Ahmad Said, which is Hujan Pagi, which has been translated to the Morning Post. All right, so at the beginning of this presentation, the introduction will be introduced by Nazirol, then followed by Dania Hazira, which she will explain on this novel by in the synopsis. Then there are 6 techniques which will be explained briefly by Nazri, Alia Batrisya, and Azrai. After that, I myself will review this novel and followed by and will be concluded by Nazirol at the end of this presentation. So without further ado, let us continue to the presentation. Welcome, Mohamad Nazirol.
Okay, my name is Mohamad Nornazirol bin Rahim, 047601. First of all, Allen 2017 stated that textual analysis is a methodology that involves understanding the language, symbols, and images in a text in order to gain information on how people make sense of and communicate life and life experiences. So, based on functional approach to translation and applied to pragmatic text linguistics, it proposes a translation-oriented source text analysis model applicable to all text types and genres independent of the language and culture base involved. In this task, we are doing the textual analysis on the novel Hujan Pagi by Ahmad Said, a Malaysian novelist and poet Hujan Pagi, and it is translated to English version The Morning Post because this novel incorporates elements of legend, history, ecology, astronomy, and politics wrapped in magical realism, a branch of literature that is strong in Latin America and has an impact on the art of world in the West. Some of the translation texts have errors in word equivalence, so readers of translated novels are often confused about what they read because some of the phrases are not understandable. Thus, we choose this novel due to the elements and techniques of translation that we are going to explore and discuss within this story, which will make the readers to have a better understanding toward the storyline. So, without further ado, let's move on to the techniques and synopsis of this novel.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurdania Hadirah Binti Harman Hamzi, 047377. So I will be presenting on synopsis of Hujan Pagi. So the Morning Post by Ahmad Said talks about the daily lives of journalists led by Luqman. This team of journalists has to face numerous obstacles in confronting the colonizers. Luqman being the leader. The truth is, the Morning Post only exists in his hallucination. In his mind, the Morning Post was in the past, while the present, it is actually the Morning Herald. In present time, Luqman is the chief editor for the Morning Herald newspaper. Under the Morning Herald, the team brings a new technique to journalism, causing Luqman to lose his ambition in fighting for his people. In his hallucination, where he became the leader for the Morning Post, Luqman and his team fight the Japanese colonizer to uphold the dignity of Malay supremacy under the newspaper. The new form in the Morning Herald brings pressure to Luqman as he always wants to be the chief editor, but the reality is going against his will, making him hallucinate about the Morning Post, where this place accepts him. In the Morning Post, it happens in the 20s and 30s, and under his team, there are Rahman, Basri, Musir Ali, and Mahmud Bey. While in the Morning Herald, it is in 70s. It is in the team, there are Rusli, Narisa, Arfiah, Zuhri, and Muayyah. For this novel, each chapter is can address different issues. So to understand the whole novel, it is quite hard if you only read like one by one chapter. This novel makes the reader to wisely link the chapters presented to be relevant throughout the whole book. So at the end of this novel, it centers the characters of Lokman, Lajis, and Norisa. And that is all for synopsis. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Mohamad Nazri bin Abu Hassan, matric number 047483. So today I'm going to explain about the translation method that has been used by the translator in this novel. So first of all, we're going through the direct translation part, which consists of three methods, which is borrowing, calc, and also literal translation. So as you can see, this is a borrowing part, where borrowing is a technique or translation requiring the use of the same word or phrase in the target text in the original, and the word or expression borrowed is usually written in italics. So as you can see, this is the data that has been synthesized from the both literary text, either in the original text and also the that has been translated. So as you can see, these are the word that has been translated, which is the word that we cannot find in English, which is the the target text. So this word normally we can find in the Malay language. So the translator use borrowing technique. This is because they want to retain the original meaning, and also since there is no words like sampan, hang kasturi, curaca, and bomo, temenggung Abdul Rahman in English, so translator tend to use borrowing as a method to translate this word in order to retain the meaning and also the culture behind the word. So as you can see, based on our observation and also research, so we find out that these words are not written in italics. So some of the authors like Tan Tuan Eng, the local Malaysian author, stated that they don't want to italics all these like Malay words because of they find it a distraction to the readers. Okay. Alright, so next is calc. So calc consists of two calcs, which is a lexical calc and also structural calc. So lexical calc is a calc in which respecting the target language synthetic structure, thus adding a new mode of expression. So basically they translate word by word, but they are not taking the structure at all. So for example, like pemberontakan Saring will be translated into the Saring Rebellion. Okay, so this word is a historical event during British colonization in Malaya, in Penang, and also in Singapore. So as you can see, the translator translate each word, but they change the language structure. Okay. Next is the structural calc. So structural calc is a calc in which introduce a new construction into the language. So the word that being translated was similar according to the structure. Okay, was similar according to the structure, and this differentiate between structural and lexical calc, where lexical calc changes the structure of the language, but the structure, they retain the structure of the original language. So in this novel, there is no structural calc was identified, and for example of the structural calc is like Prime Minister being translated to Malay language is Perdana Menteri. We are not going to translate it to Menteri Perdana because it sounds so wrong. Okay. Next is literal translation. So literal translation is a translation that translates each word exactly instead of giving the general meaning in a more natural way. So direct transfer of an source language text to a grammatically and idiomatically suitable target language text in which the task of the translator is limited to observing adherence to the target language linguistic servitudes. Meaning, this method is a suitable method to produce when the language structure between the source text and also the target text is same, meaning they are grammatically appropriate and the language structure is almost the same. As you can see in the data, like for instance, sebuah tongkang sedang mengesot. A jam was slowly crawling along. Basically, it is a literal translation where the language structure is almost the same and also is grammatically correct in either in Malay or also in English. So as you can see, these are the data that we find inside the literary text in both source text and also the target text. All right. So moving on to the next point.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Alia Batrisya with metric number 047696 and I will be presenting on transposition. So transposition is the act or process of changing from one grammatical category to another without altering the meaning of the text. So as we can see from the example, the source text mentioned di atas titian beberapa orang sedang berkumpul, and the target text mentioned some people were gathered on the footbridge. So as you can see, in the source text, it mentioned di atas titian first and then followed by orang sedang berkumpul. But in target text, it mentioned some people first and then followed by gathered on the footbridge. So as you can see, it changes one grammatical category to another. In the most simplest way, we can say the next example, which is kapal kecil, and be translated into English, small ships. So instead of directly translated into ship small, instead they use it as small ships. So as you can see, based on our textual analysis, transposition has the most examples found in Hujan Pagi by A. Samad Said. This is because transposition is one of the common technique when it comes to translating BM to English. So this is the reason why transposition is mostly used in translating Hujan Pagi, because translating BM to English mostly consists of shifting the grammatical category into another. So basically, you just shift the words, but still maintain the same meaning. So that's all from me for transposition. Moving forward to Shah Azrai.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Shah Azrai, 046943, and today I will be presenting about reformulation or equivalence. So this is a translation technique that utilizes a completely different expression to transmit the same reality. So this technique allows the translation of name of institutions, interjections, idioms, and also proverbs. So according to the illustration that we have seen below, the source text, rahsia itu memang berat, is translated into the secret was a brave one. Though berat and brave is not the same, but it carries the same notion that someone who holds a secret is a very big responsibility. Therefore, someone who holds a secret is also a brave person. So this example can be seen in page 3. So this is for reformulation. So moving on to the next one, which is the next translation technique is adaptation. This translation technique also known as cultural substitution or cultural equivalence. This is a cultural element which replaces the original text with one that is better suited according to the cultural relevance of the target text. This technique helps in achieving a more familiar and comprehensive text for readers of the target language. For example, the word batiniah is translated into mystical. The next one, kenduri arwah, is translated into requiem. This is not the same as a requiem is more of a musical performance that is held during someone's death. For example, a queen's death, so they will hold a requiem for the queen's death. This is not the same as kenduri arwah, because a kenduri arwah is mostly more of a religious thing that we do to not celebrate, but to give prayers to the beloved past one. The third one is lemah batin, is translated into weak spirited. Now, this is not the same as the first batin example that is translated into mystical. This one, they use weak spirited. So, there is a difference, however, it's the same context. This difference is used to make sure that readers of the target language, English, understand the context. Thank you. Moving.
Rahim. Okay, for this chapter review part, we already divided it into language, plot, character, and translation. Before that, my name is Aizuddin Harif, 046164. Okay, moving on to the first element, which is language. The writer used the moderate word choice level, which is suitable for the adult reader. And also, he used the mix of classic and modern words. For example, for spelling of cuaca, which used the classic word like curaca and etc. In this prose, Is Ahmad Said also used the literary devices such as metaphor, personification, and many more. All right, then moving on to the plot, the exposition of this novel introduced the setting, which is the place setting, and also the time setting. So when the reader read this novel, they will know when is this novel story or the situation, and how the writer elaborate on the situation, on the scenery of the islands and so on. Okay, then in the middle of this novel, the writer start the conflict, which when the conflict arises and then lead to the problems. Next, the character. The characters were introduced accordingly, following starting with the main character and followed by the supporting character. All the characters are described by the characteristics, and when the reader read the novel, so they will know the features of the character. Lastly, in the translation elements, which is from the source text to the target text, the Malay classic words are translated to English for a better understanding. If we can see in this novel, the writer, we can see that the writer used some how he arranged the word that might be a little bit hard for the reader to understand, but however, it is translated beautifully into English, so the readers will understand perfectly. Next, the accuracy, equivalent, and the identical word of the translation is perfectly translated. So that's all for the chapter review. Moving on to the conclusion part.
Based on the analysis that we have done, there are 6 techniques that have been used according to the translation procedure to ensure that the texts are accurately translated into the target language. Borrowing, cup, literal translation, transposition, reformulation, and adaptation are the techniques utilized in the analysis. These techniques will make readers have a better understanding of the storyline. In conclusion, the textual analysis is primarily focused on a functional approach to translation and applied to realistic text linguistics. So, those techniques are very significant in accordance to the translation procedure in order to have a thorough understanding of the story. In addition, important considerations in the textual analysis as well are included, which are the selection of the types of text that we have studied, the acquisition of appropriate text, and the determination of the particular approach that we have used in the analysis. I think that is all from us. Thank you.